99% of runners end up stuck at the same pace, they're not able to get any quicker, and they get frustrated with their training. But that's because they're focusing on the wrong things. Now, the maths is pretty simple on this one. If you want to get ahead of 99% of runners, you need to do the things that 99% of runners aren't willing to do. So here are 4 of the things that most runners neglect, but if you do them consistently, you will see massive improvements. Now, first up is get specific with your training. Don't just have a vague goal like, I want to get quicker. What is it that you're training for? What is stopping you from getting there, and how are you going to measure your progress towards it? Because there are so many ways that your running could be improving that isn't to do with your current pace or with your PBs, and you might be missing all of that because you're just looking at your 5k PB or your 10k PB. For example, if you're training for your first half marathon or your first marathon, your 5k time doesn't really matter, but the amount of time that you can run without having to stop could be a massive indicator of how well you're doing and how you're improving. So get specific with how you want your running to improve and laser focus on the progress you're making towards that. Which leads on nicely to point number 2, which is actually understanding what your training is doing for your body and how it's helping you improve. Most runners will either sign up for a running app and just follow the plan, or they will bodge together their own plan based on what they think they should be doing. But if you asked most runners, how does a tempo run improve your training? Or why do you do intervals? Or what's the point of a long run? Outside of, it helps make me quicker and it helps me run a bit longer, most people won't be able to give you an answer. All any kind of training is giving your body some kind of stimulus that damages it in some way so that your body goes, I don't want that to happen again, I'm going to be stronger next time it happens, and so it adapts and it gets stronger to compensate. When you lift heavy weights, you're ripping the muscle fibers apart so that they knit back together stronger. When you run intervals, you're stressing your aerobic system, your breathing, your heart rate, so that you can process more oxygen and run quicker for longer. So if you've signed up for a half marathon and you're panicking because the longest run you've ever done is 10k, you know that endurance needs to be the top focus. So yes, you want your balanced plan, you want some speed work, some easy runs, some long runs, but endurance needs to be the key goal that you're pushing yourself towards. So when you plan your training, you need to think, what am I going to do this week that pushes my endurance more than last week? How am I progressively overloading my training so that my body keeps improving? And if you're struggling, you're not sure how you should be adjusting your training, then just think fit. You can change the frequency of your runs, how many runs you're doing per week. You can change the intensity of your runs, so how fast you're running during them, or you can change the time, how long you're running for. Don't try and increase all 3 of these things at once, but these are the levers that you can pull to change your training and work your body a little bit harder each week. Whilst recovering enough, of course. Don't just do more every single week, otherwise you might die. Now, number 3 is something that you know you need to do, but you keep putting it off. You need to be lifting heavy weights as part of your training. And most runners will neglect it because they don't like running on sore legs, or they don't really enjoy it, or they just don't want to be the skinny person in the gym who everyone laughs at. Not the case, by the way. The gym is much less judgmental than you might think. And I'm not saying that you need to be in the gym lifting heavy weights all the time. I'm not saying you need to enter a Hyrox or be a hybrid athlete. You don't need to do anything crazy. You just need to do something that puts your muscles under load in a different movement to running a couple of times a week. And it just needs to be something that you enjoy. Whether it's a local gym class with your friends, or you've just got a few weights at home that you can use for some squats and some lunges a couple of times a week, that's all you need. It doesn't need to be pretty, but if you can do that consistently, everyone else at Parkrun will be strapping up their knees and complaining about their little injuries and their Achilles hurts. You'll be laughing. You will be absolutely fine because your body is better prepared to take the impact of running over and over again. Now, for the last point, do you want to know something that I really, really hate? Is expos the day before big races. Now, don't get me wrong, I love an expo. I love seeing all the new products, but the amount of runners who go and they buy something at the expo the day before their big race that they've never used before, never tried, don't know if it's going to work, and they think, I know what I'll do before my first marathon is I'll try this new pair of socks. Oh God, why do I have blisters? It's the worst time to try something new, and yet everybody does it. The most important thing that you can do to get ahead of 99% of runners is just planning ahead, because no one seems to do it. If you're training for your first race, let's use a marathon as an example. You want to turn up at the start line feeling like you've already run that race, at least in your head. You want to know what the course looks like, where the elevation is, where the hills are going to be. You want to know ahead of time what kit you're going to be wearing and have done your long runs in that kit. You want to know when you're going to be fueling, what your pacing is going to look like. If you can plan all of these things ahead so that all you need to do on the day is just turn up and execute, your race will be 1,000 times easier. And this is the first thing that I go through with my runners when I'm prepping them for a race, is the actual training and the running is a much smaller part of it than you might think. The biggest part of training for, say, a marathon is getting all of these little strategies in place and understanding how your body reacts. All of those training runs, all of those long runs, they are just ways to practice and prepare so that you have that plan in your head and you're just turning up on the day to execute the run and get the result that you've prepped for. So be specific with your training, understand what type of training is going to get you the results that you want, make sure you lift your heavy weights and plan ahead. If you can do those 4 things, none of them are going to cost you any extra money. They will get you ahead of 99% of runners and you will just see your performance go up and up and up and up. If you've got any other tips that you want to share with your fellow runners, then comment them down below. I'll have a read through. Please subscribe if you want more videos like this, and I will see you in the next one.